The air in my lungs felt heavy the day I unlocked my apartment and froze in the doorway. The place looked as if a hurricane had torn through it. My shelves were bare. My desk, empty. Even the smallest things I'd collected over the years were gone. But it wasn't just my belongings that had been taken, it was the life I had bled and fought for, ripped out from under me. I'm Ronald Vega, and this is the story of how I clawed my way out from under a shadow I never asked to live in, and what it cost me to ignite my own fire. I was born and raised in a modest Chicago brownstone, narrow hallways, creaky stairs, and the constant aroma of coffee drifting from the kitchen in the mornings. The place pulsed with life, loud chatter bouncing from wall to wall. But that energy didn't revolve around me, it revolved around my brother, Nico. Nico was the spark everyone gravitated toward. His laugh was wild and contagious, his TikTok filled with rooftop parties and flashy sneaker hauls. People called him magnetic. Our parents treated him like he carried the sun in his pocket. And me? I was the quiet one. The ember flickering in the corner. My hands scribbled in notebooks filled with lines of code, my mind spinning with dreams of building something lasting. While Nico swept through life like wind, I was more like solid ground, steady, reliable, and mostly ignored. At 14, I was out shoveling snow for neighbors, saving every crumpled bill in a small metal tin I kept hidden. That money was for a gaming laptop, not for games, but for coding. My dream was to create something that could change my life. Nico would breeze past me in the hallway, dropping hints about wanting new headphones or festival passes. Our parents never hesitated. "Nico's got that glow," Dad would say, smiling as Mom pulled out her credit card without question. Meanwhile, every birthday and holiday came with a fresh sting. Nico's pile of gifts always towered, custom jewelry, drones for his vlogs, expensive jackets. My gifts were usually an afterthought, and my savings never grew fast enough. One evening, I gathered the courage to show my mom my first ever app. My palms were sweaty as I explained what it could do. "I'm saving for a laptop," I told her quietly, hoping she'd understand what it meant to me. She glanced at my phone screen for barely 2 seconds before Nico burst into the kitchen, talking about some crazy stunt his skate crew had pulled. My moment evaporated like steam on pavement. I stopped expecting applause at home. Instead, I found refuge in the public library, sitting for hours in front of dusty old monitors, fixing bugs, and teaching myself new programming languages. My mind lived in possibilities, worlds I could build line by line. By the time I hit high school, my determination was unstoppable. I applied to every tech program and scholarship I could find, each application a step toward my escape. The night I got the acceptance letter from MIT, with a full ride, I could barely breathe from excitement. I ran into the living room, my phone glowing with the email. "Mom! Dad! I made it!" I shouted, my heart hammering. Dad barely looked up from watching Nico's latest post. "Nice, Ronald," he said flatly. "No, try a sharper filter," he added, talking to Nico. Mom muttered, "Good work," but her eyes never left her tablet. Nico, whose grades were a mess, had just flunked an online music course. Dad patted his shoulder anyway. "You'll shine anyway, kid." Something inside me cracked. "He failed, Dad," I blurted out, unable to swallow it. Mom's eyes narrowed. "Don't be bitter, Ronald. Nico's got his own magic." Bitter. That's what they called me. Not ambitious. Not determined. Just bitter. MIT became my sanctuary. I lived in the labs, surrounded by brilliant minds and ideas that sparked at 3 a.m. over cold pizza. I coded until my eyes burned, creating apps that were more than just assignments, they were my voice. Graduation brought me a position at a tech firm back in Chicago. My first paycheck was proof that I could survive on my own. I rented a small loft with tall windows that caught the city's electric glow at night. I got my own place. I told my parents over the phone, hoping for just a flicker of pride. "That's cool, Ronald," Dad replied, distracted. "Hey, Nico just got a deal with a streetwear brand." My victory dimmed, but I held on to it. Work became my heartbeat. I took on extra projects, earning recognition from my boss, Miss Chun, who saw the hunger in me. Within a year, I was leading teams and co-developing campaigns that made national headlines. I bought a used sedan in cash and didn't bother telling my family. But somehow Nico found out. He called me, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Your little car. Adorable," he said. "Why work so hard? Find a rich partner and just coast." I hung up, his laugh lingering in my ears. While I was grinding for every win, Nico's life looked glamorous from the outside: photo shoots, gifted luxury items, our parents funding his content trips to places he'd never be able to afford on his own. At parties, they bragged about him like he was a trophy they'd polished themselves. I kept building my life quietly, turning my loft into a mix of thrift store finds and tech gear. Then Nico introduced the family to Theo Langston, a wealthy heir from the Gold Coast with a smile as sharp as glass. The two got engaged, and my parents acted as though they'd won the lottery. The wedding was an extravagant show. Nico wore a suit worth more than my car, while I stood in the back, my plain jacket a quiet reminder of where I came from. Not long after, I threw a loft warming party. My co-workers admired the view of the Loop skyline, congratulated me on my promotion, and raised their drinks in a toast. But when my family arrived, Nico smirked at my second-hand lamp. "Charming," he muttered, kicking his boots against my floor. Mom and Dad barely looked around before steering the conversation back to Nico's new gig. The breaking point came when Theo dumped Nico. My brother spiraled, raging at home, smashing things, and demanding new gadgets to bounce back. My parents turned their house into his recovery suite while I was landing one of the biggest clients of my career. When I called to share the news, Mom cut me off. "Nico's hurting. Be there for him, Ronald." A few weeks later, I won a competitive 4-month coding fellowship in Tokyo. "I'm going to Tokyo," I told them. Mom's voice was sharp. "How can you leave when Nico's broken?" Dad added, "Family first." I went anyway. Tokyo's neon streets and quiet shrines healed something in me. I worked alongside developers from Seoul, learned new skills, and tasted freedom with every bowl of ramen. When I came home, I expected silence from them, but I wasn't prepared for what I found. My loft was a mess. Takeout boxes, clothes, and random junk littered the floor. Nico was lounging on my couch, scrolling through his phone. "Dad gave me your key," he said casually. Needed a break. My chest tightened. I stepped outside, trying to breathe, only to notice my car was gone. I called Dad, my voice like steel. "Where's my car?" He chuckled. "We sold it." Nico needed cheering up. Mom's voice cut in. "It's family, Ronald. We share." That word, share, set me off. That was mine. I roared. I earned it. Dad called me selfish and hung up. I went back inside and told Nico to get out. He tried to charm his way around it, but I didn't waver. He left muttering under his breath. The next day, I called a lawyer. I sued my parents for the value of my car and laid out years of favoritism in court. They called me ungrateful, but the judge saw through their performance. I won. They were forced to sell their Lakeview condo to pay me back, moving into a cramped apartment. The gossip from their circle stung them far worse than the money. Cutting them off left a hollow ache, but also clarity. Their favoritism had been a cage. It had pushed me to fight harder, to become more than they ever believed I could be. Now, my loft is my sanctuary. I lead ambitious projects at work, bike along the lakefront trail, and even take woodworking classes where I shape something with my own hands, something that belongs only to me. My new electric car hums quietly, a symbol of independence. I don't need their cheers anymore. I've learned to find my own. And if you're watching this thinking about the years you've spent unseen, remember this: you are not defined by the people who refuse to recognize your worth. You are defined by the fire you build inside yourself. Keep going. Keep carving your own path. And when you make it, let the world see you, not for their approval, but for your own truth. Hit subscribe for more stories like this, share your own fight in the comments, and let's chase our victories together.